This week, we are skipping into the future. I already gave you guys my thoughts on RTK 1. I didn't really use the second book because I just didn't need to. Now we're on to 3. This week we're taking a hands-on look at Heisig's infamous, or famous, I guess it depends on how you view Heisig, his third installment of the Remembering the Kanji series. Let's take a look. This week it is another fantabulous, spectaculamorous textbook review. I'm trying to make it seem cooler than it is, right? Because I get excited about textbooks, but I also understand that for some of you guys, hearing the word textbook or organized learning strategy or algebra puckers your anus in a way that reminds you of 9th grade or college. So this is meant to be a little bit more fun, right? We're looking at a way to learn kanji from a book. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to make this fun. And I realized that, yeah, probably more than half of the people that end up actually watching my textbook reviews are just, scrollers through Reddit or Amazon trying to see if their $9 on some old Amazon gift card is actually well spent. And spoiler alert, I think it's well spent on this. If you definitely is if you get it for $9. You don't need to hear me ramble on anymore. Anyone can sit here and hold up a textbook for a thumbnail. But what is it like to put your hands on it, to give you guys a first-person perspective? That's what I like to do at my channel, and that's why we're going to the hands-on part of the review. Let's head to the table. See Chuck. Alright, what's going on, everybody? This, of course, is the infamous James W. Heisig, Remembering the Kanji 3. There are probably already tons of thoughts that you guys might be having when you look at a cover like this, where it's literally saying like, oh yeah, upper level. What does that actually mean, right? Is that upper level like reading physics textbooks, the kanjis for that? Is that the upper level for, I don't know, the JLPT 2 or the European Framework C1? Or like, what do they consider upper level? And actually, this is actually one of the reasons why people who leave reviews should really just read the introduction, because he kind of tells us. In his own words, he basically consulted a dictionary when he was putting this together, and it told him that these are the kanjis, for the most part, that a university graduate would probably know coming out of college there, and he tends to agree. Now, he is not a lone man in the sea. He had lots of Japanese people throughout this that were part of a team of his compiling data that he worked with, that he talked through, and if they agree, and the dictionary says that, and good old Heisig says that, I tend to think that's roughly the level. Now, does that mean these kanjis are not what you need? That maybe a casual learner who just wants to pull a light novel off a shelf and read it, can that person maybe skip what the contents, at least, that is contained in this book? I would say no, because he also goes on and explains really what goes into these kanjis. Now, there's a deep sentiment amongst Reddit Japanese language learners who never left the beginner books that think you only need 2,000 kanji to be proficient. Now, I'll go into a little bit of what I feel like that 2,000 kanji makes you feel like you can do a little bit later. I have an analogy I came up with after reading this book. But the truth of the matter is, like, how about this? I'll let this book speak for itself. So he compiled 90 different journals, academic journals and popular journals, talking about commonly used kanjis, and most of those came up with around 3,300 to 3,500 kanjis that are kind of common use. On top of that, he also compared those to what they call the general use kanji list. You can see it right there, and that actually had an update in 2011 that he needed to update with this, which is why in the front it says includes that extra 196. And based on all those factors compiled together, and plus or minus maybe names that he has, he goes into why some things didn't make it. He came up with about 800 kanjis on top of his original 2,200 to equal, well, roughly 3,000 kanji. And he considers this to be roughly the bulk of what you're gonna need to wade into the shores, and if there is something you don't see, you definitely have the capacity to figure out what it means, which I agree with. I think that really is a good instance of how this book works. Also, one thing that's really cool about this book, this actually kind of operates like a book 3 and 4. So if you guys remember book 1, it probably looked very similar to this, right? You had the meeting, you had the kanji, you had basically the Heisig number, you had the 2 elements that are there, and maybe a story that kind of helps you, or some sort of thing to maybe give you a referent to build a story for in your head. And a lot of people didn't move past that, but actually RTK 2 was more in kind of this style, where it gave you what the thing was that you learned in RTK 1. It gave you some words to go with it, as well as readings. And this book actually does that for all 800. So the first part of this book actually looks very similar to Remembering the Kanji 1, and then you'll get all the way out here, and you'll go, wait, what the heck happened? Well, this is part 2, and part 2 contains readings for all these new kanjis, just like in RTK2. So you actually learn in this one volume the meaning, which would be kind of what RTK1 would be, as well as the reading, which would be RTK2. Now, I personally did not use Remembering the Kanji 2, and I don't really intend to use that in this one either. I tend to use actual word lists. Just, it's my own preference if I already have a vocabulary system that I'm going to be doing. So if I have a textbook or a word list, or if you're doing what I'm doing now, which is just reading native materials, and if I come across a word or a phrase or a proverb or something, I add that to my SRS system. I'm not going to get into that right now, but it does leave you the option that if you want to do basically the Remembering the Kanji 2 version of learning the readings, you can do that. And if you don't want to, then assalamu alaikum, mashugana. So I have actually gone through, looked at every single kanji that was in here, went through the ones that I knew, the ones I didn't know, and a lot of them are in this book, and the unfortunate thing that I had to come to terms with is that almost everything in this book is pretty freaking necessary to just reading basic Japanese literature, be it newspapers, light novels, even manga. The kanjis in here, for the most part, are not optional. I don't know if you guys know the word for lottery, but it looks like this. And that's pretty common, right? If you're just walking around Japan, you'll see that, you'll know, oh, the lottery's here. But you also will see this. And again, same thing, right? Same meaning, but the problem is that second kanji, for whatever reason, frankly, I can see why, look how crazy that is, fell out of popular use, and it's just easier to write kuji, right? Rather than actually having that kanji, but you do still see that version. You also have lots of different alternate forms of different kanjis, like just kanjis that essentially mean the same thing that you learned in RTK1, but this is maybe a rarer form or an alternate form of how that's done. There also is just kind of new kanjis that in general are helpful to have. Some of these you often see in names, some of them you might see when you're walking around Japan in shrines or whatever it happens to be. But the truth of the matter is, I have not really found one in here that is not worth knowing. In fact, I remember when I hit this one specifically, this is pretty early on, this is chapter 2, and this one has to do with kurabu. If you guys know, like a club, like a circle, like an after school thing, this is ku in kurabu. And I remember, I think I was reading, can't remember what it was, but I came across that and I was like, what the heck is the last part of that? And then when you realize that, oh, they use the old kanji, it just gives you a whole new respect for really what is in here, what is necessary, what is good to know. I'll give you guys an example that I came up with. Once you guys have learned those, whatever, 2,200, be it through RTK, or just, I don't know, maybe you found a list somewhere that did it. It doesn't matter the way you got it, but once you got those, the feeling of reading manga and different novels and stuff, to me, this is how I felt with it, is that it feels like you're at a party. And as you're reading through books, as you're going through, maybe you're reading a manual for some sort of vacuum that you bought in Japan, I don't know, whatever it is that you're reading, you understand most of it, right? You walk into a party, you see most of the people there, and you happen to know most of them, right? You can go, hey, Carl, what's going on? And Judith, I haven't seen you in a while, don't drink too much, you get really loose, or whatever happens. And then, of course, because just learning those 2,200 doesn't mean you're going to be fluent, you're going to encounter words or phrases or whatever it is, even new kanjis that you don't know. That's just gonna happen. And that's like seeing a new face of the party. And so you can go there, you can introduce yourself, and go, hi, my name is Joffrey, please don't kill me at the Red Wedding. I don't even think that's actually accurate to the show. That's a horrible example. Whatever it is, you're able to meet them, introduce yourself, meaning you could find it in a dictionary, you can learn what it means without needing a textbook or a vocab list or anything like that. You can just move through native material. Now you leave the party, you got a little tipsy, right? It kind of got a little weird there at the end, someone brought a pig, and you draw the line at sex pig. So you leave, and you might come to a new party down the way, a few blocks down or maybe a state over, and lots of the same people are still at this party. So you can go, hey Judith, my brother needs to call you about that birth control. Hey Steve, I remember you, how's the sex pig? Because now you push those boundaries, you don't really mind the sex pig. And now at this new party, you re-encounter that new face that you saw, but he's in new clothes. And you go, I remember your name, you're like Janice, Jondry, Jaundice, and you can't really remember the person's name. Like you can remember his face, you can kind of remember what he's about, but you can't specifically remember in what order was he in the sex pig. And so what this book does is it puts a face to a name and a number to the sex pig. And I think this analogy fell apart, but hopefully you guys are understanding kind of what I'm trying to get at. The point of this book, I consider it a gap filler. Can you maneuver in native materials, although occasionally needing to look up stuff after you've just finished either whatever, RTK1 or whatever system it is that you're doing to learn those kind of general use kanjis. I'm gonna use the English here. Yeah, totally. But if you are sick of wondering who last was in the sex pig, or if you're sick of seeing these faces you've seen over and over and over again, but you stopped caring to put them into index cards or whatever it was, and you want something systematized to help fill in a lot of those holes. This tells you who Steve is, and he was number 3, by the way. So I have closing thoughts on what's going on in here, about what I encountered and how I've used this book and how much I enjoy it, but I'm actually going to allow Studio Chad to finish this all off. So yeah, that's the Remembering the Kanji 3, kind of the capstone to the Remembering the Kanji series. I don't know if he'll ever make more, but he even says in this book that this is the top, this is the one he's doing, that he's ending it all on. And honestly, totally worth it for me to have this on my shelf, even if I'm not going to use the last half of the book too much, or the fact that I'm not going to use RTK2 ever. I like having physicals. I like supporting the guy that ended up using this method that helped me tremendously to learn kanji. But this is also the part of the video where I ask what you guys think. I know I don't really use the Heisig method when it comes to learning the readings. Everyone knows that. It's pretty common knowledge. But did you use RTK1, RTK3? Did you use RTK2? Did you enjoy his method? Have you used this book specifically? Do you recommend this book? Do you think it's necessary, I don't know, for whatever you're reading? Do you think it's unnecessary for whatever you're reading? Do you think that there's a better book? Whatever it is, there are so many people in our community that are silent participants, and they look in the comments and try and get a vibe of what the community thinks. So by leaving a comment, you get to participate in a greater conversation that very well might help a language learner 5-10 years from now. If you guys like this video, please leave a like down below. It helps me tremendously. I cannot say enough how much that actually helps the algorithm push my channel as engagement on stuff. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments about the book, about me, about the channel, about this video, feel free to leave them in the comment box down below. I do personally read all of them. If you like this video, please check out all my other book reviews. Check out my my traveling to Japan for cheap, all of my JLPT videos. I think I'm approaching 400 videos at this point, all about Japan and Japanese and just the stuff that I'm passionate about involving, well, specifically those. And if that sounds cool, maybe consider subscribing. Again, it's another metric that YouTube uses to push me to new people. It helps grow my channel. And if you guys would like a video every single Wednesday, leave a subscription. Who knows? Maybe you'll end up actually liking me. You can catch me Twitch TV/Chad Zimmerman, @that's my Chad on Twitter, Chad Zimmerman basically on every other platform. Thank you so much to my manga club members, my postcard procurers, on the Patreon. You guys keep this stuff afloat when Corona tries to burn it to the ground, so much appreciated. For my non-subscribers, do not worry, you will get your own outro. But for my subscribers, you will get an additional bonus outro, because you're special, and you deserve it. So for my non-subscribers, thank you so much for watching. Love hard, love deep, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye. Alright, quick subscriber-only outro. Check this out. Any old-timey anime night buds remember this? I'm gonna try and bring back anime night on Twitch specifically because I can actually watch anime with the anime playing on the screen as long as it's on Amazon, because they're owned by Amazon. And there happens to be quite a bit of anime on Amazon, so I would love to be able to bring that back. I'm working on establishing a studio separate to this one, obviously, that I just built. So I just want to tell you guys first, because you're subscribed, you should know before everybody else. And obviously, only subscribers get to see this part. So, just want to show you guys a quick sneak peek. Thank you so much for subscribing and supporting my channel. I appreciate you guys so much. And to my subscribers, love hard, love deep, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.